Flying Scotsman. For 10 years it's been away, undergoing a painstaking £4 million rebuild.
Massive relief, yeah. There have been times when you think we'll never finish it.
For us to work on it, it's quite a privilege. Dirty, but a privilege.
The National Railway Museum celebrates with an emotional return to the main line and Scotsman speeding home to York.
She's running like a sewing machine. She's perfect.
The engine's over 90 now. Since Scotsman came to life in 1923 in a South Yorkshire engineering shed, this machine's become the stuff of legends.
It's been a celebrity locomotive more than any other locomotive that's ever been constructed in this country.
The first engine to officially clock 100 miles an hour.
Speed, power, beauty.
The first locomotive to run a regular non-stop passenger service from London to Edinburgh.
That's history.
From 1963, a string of private owners kept Scotsman alive.
I'm not buying it for me, I'm buying it for Britain.
And its fame took it round the world.
The locomotive has arrived in Australia, lashed to the deck of a cargo ship.
In 2004, with the help of countless donations, the National Railway Museum acquired the weary locomotive for the nation. And they vowed to return the engine to its former glory.
We had to finish it, we had to put it back out, and it had to be as good as it possibly could be.
Now Scotsman's back on track. The legend lives on.
Flying Scotsman is due into the station shortly.
Early January, and the press are gathering at Bury Station on the East Lancashire Railway. Like everyone else, they're clamouring to catch a first glimpse of the world's favourite engine after a 10-year absence. It'll undertake trial runs on this heritage line before, if all goes well, returning to mainline service. The engine's custodians, the National Railway Museum, are planning a celebratory run from King's Cross to York. But before that, it has to prove itself fit enough to make the distance. It's been a long time away.
The Flying Scotsman has travelled many millions of miles since it was built in 1923. It was very, very worn out. And whilst you can patch and mend a steam locomotive, there comes a point when you have to literally strip it down to every nut, bolt and rivet. The boiler has been completely refurbished. It's the 18th boiler that Flying Scotsman's had in its history. The frames have been stripped down, and it was discovered that part of the frames were damaged, so they had to replace the front third of the frame. So this all had to be manufactured and assembled, and lots of testing to make sure that everything is as it should be.
The engineers step forward to take a bow. It's been a long haul to bring Flying Scotsman back to life. They've lavished care and attention on every single part of this grand old lady of steam.
It's probably been the most extensive restoration of any steam locomotive that's been carried out to date. The engine was very worn when the National Railway Museum took ownership of it, and basically all the working parts have been renewed.
For steam enthusiasts, these are sights and sounds that stir the blood.
I'm a grown man, and I didn't sleep very well last night, such was my excitement. And I think it creates that kind of excitement. I was very tearful when I pulled into the station this morning to see such a great locomotive back. We've not seen it for 10 years, so we've been starved of this great locomotive, and I think we just so much anticipation to see it back on our UK rails again. Speed, power, beauty.
The press have had their sneak preview. Tomorrow, the public will get their chance to ride behind this national treasure. "4:15 on a bitterly cold Lancashire morning. In the yard of locomotive engineers Riley and Son, they're firing up the engines for the first of 2 busy weekends on the East Lancashire Railway. Wheels and bearings drink oil straight from the can.
Until it's cold, the oil's crawling out the bottle.
It's Jack Johnson's job to put fire in Scotsman's belly. At just 18, he's one of the country's youngest mainline firemen. There's nowhere else he'd rather be.
Once you've got that steam bug, you've got it. So, and then this is like the icing on the cake to fire the Flying Scotsman. Fire it on the main line and fire it here. It's like a childhood dream. That's what I've always wanted to do. It's actually back after 10 years and it's living again. It doesn't deserve to be in a museum. It deserves to be out there where everyone can see it. I can't wait to get this thing out on the main line. It's a beast.
It's sometimes felt like Scotsman's been dragged kicking and screaming back onto the line.
It's been very stubborn, this engine. When I first started back here about a year and a half ago, it was just a scattered piece of parts all over the floor like a big jigsaw puzzle. We've had to cut the whole entire front end off and replace the cylinders and to set the frames up to literally down to the thousandths of an inch to keep everything straight in line has been very complicated, and had to go through a lot of procedures and engineering certification to get it to that point.
With such a radical overhaul, some wonder whether much of the original 1923 Scotsman has actually survived.
Last 3/4 of the frames are definitely original, and the wheels are all original, and the side rods, and a lot of the parts we've been working on and cleaning up have still had the original stamp numbers on it. The majority of it's original, and the most important thing is its soul is original. No matter how many pieces of material you change in a locomotive, it'll always be that engine. The steam locomotive in particular is a piece of metal, various different forms, ferrous and non-ferrous, but when you put a fire in it, it comes to life, and it takes on a whole different nature.
There's a nagging problem with the brakes. So to be safe, they run a second engine on every train just to assist. And with every mile that Scotsman chalks up, there's a growing confidence. As the passenger trials begin, every platform on the East Lancashire Railway is packed.
Fantastic, tremendous, earth-shattering for us, but to see it actually appear there've been tears in the eye. We expected a lot of people to come, but we didn't expect the numbers that have actually appeared.
Look over there.
We expect over 25,000 passengers to have been on the railway over this 2 weekends. To put that into context, we carried about 160,000 passengers last year.
This engine seems to cast a spell on people. One of the most treasured Scotsman souvenirs is a piece of coal from the tender.
It's a bit dirty. No problem, sir. Thank you. 50 pence. Give me that big bit.
Stay back! Stand back, sir.
The restoration has called on old skills to breathe new life into the engine.
The loco was not in great condition when we got it, so it's taken quite a lot of engineering challenges to get it back up to the standard that it needs to be. And some of the problems are nowadays, you know, the engineering techniques used back in the olden days aren't available anymore, so it's difficult to find places that make the components that you need. We have got engineering centres like Ian Riley and Sun Engineering that, you know, have done the work on this, that are training up apprentices and, you know, keeping those skills alive.
And this small Lancashire engineering company is now building an international reputation in steam expertise.
We overhaul steam locomotives for people all over the world, really, from the smallest component to complete locomotives like Flying Scotsman. I think this is the biggest contract we've ever done, and everything goes all right. I think it'll be the best one we've ever done. There's only 2 or 3 companies left in the United Kingdom that can carry out this kind of work. Riley's been the best, of course.
Every seat on every train was sold out weeks in advance. And whatever their age, everyone seems to feel the same about this glorious engine.
It's brilliant. It's a legend, is a Flying Scotsman. Everybody loves it.
Those other great icons of British technology and transport like Concorde and the Queen Mary, they no longer operate and you can no longer travel on them. You can travel behind the Flying Scotsman, and that is so important to us.
There was a train line I always went past the park that used to play in football. There was always steam trains. Just stop playing football to go and watch a train go past.
Hang on, where are we going now? Oh, flipping no. We're in another tunnel.
When I was in my teens, all my friends had pictures of Elvis Presley on the bedroom wall. I had a huge poster of the Flying Scotsman, and so to be on it today is incredible. It was the spaceship of its day. It broke the 100-mile record, and that's, you know, that's history.
The passenger trials are a runaway success, but in the excitement, none of the crew forget exactly why they're doing this.
In the age of computers and iPads and tablets, you need to have some sort of tangible machine so that people can see and the young kids can see. I mean, this engine will still be running, I hope, well after I'm gone. And it was running, you know, well before I was even thought about. So it's important to keep history and the nation's heritage alive for everyone, really.
Over the years, the engine has appeared in several different liveries. Perhaps most familiar in apple green, sporting the number 4472. Soon, Scotsman will be painted green again, but before that, the engine will have to prove itself fit to run on the main line. Early February, and Scotsman is finally starting those mainline trials. It's pulling some lucky excursion passengers up the steep inclines from Lancashire to Cumbria, and then returning on the scenic Settle to Carlisle line. It's crucial the engine performs well today, with less than 3 weeks to go before the planned inaugural run. Veteran driver Ron Smith can finally let the thoroughbred stretch its legs, aiming to clock up the maximum allowed, 75 miles an hour. It's starting to feel a lot like the old days. In its heyday, the Flying Scotsman was the very height of glamour. Passengers enjoyed first-class service and all the mod cons, a dining car, a cocktail lounge, even a hairdressing salon. Today's Cumbrian Mountain Express offers a glimpse of what rail travel must have been like 3 generations ago. It's less of a picnic by the trackside. Hundreds of steam enthusiasts line the route, frozen to the bone, but glued to the view.
You can't believe the amount of people that are standing watching the train come along. They must have been standing there for hours, some of them.
Every field seems to have about 10 people in them, even though it's a cold, wet day in February. Why would you stand in a field for half an hour with a 4-year-old child under an umbrella? You're trying to get a glimpse of this past that created the world you live in now.
At Carlisle, some have been waiting for hours to see Scotsman glide into Platform 3. It's a reminder of what a draw this black beast can still be.
You've only got to see all the people that were at Carlisle when we ran in. I've never seen Carlisle like that ever, and we've been up into Carlisle with some good engines over the years. But I got the shock of my life when I approached Carlisle, and so that tells you the interest that is there. So what it's going to be like on its inaugural run, I do not know.
Ron spent his life around steam engines. It's in his family's blood. He started his career while Scotsman was still in service, and it's not the first time their paths have crossed.
I've been on the footplate since 1961, July. And actually, I did work on this engine in 62. before she went out of traffic in '63. And my father and my grandfather were both drivers, all on the same engine, worked on it. So 3 of us have now worked on this engine. My father always thought A3s were better than anything, really. You know, in fact, it's a shame he's still in here because they'd be quite impressed, you know. Yeah, very proud. A bit choked, actually.
The engine's heading south now, towards the Yorkshire Dales, on the beautiful Settle to Carlisle line. Before heading over the Ribblehead Viaduct, there's a stop for water at Appleby. It's a chance for the engine to take a breather and the crew to take stock.
And today it's been exceptional. In fact, the engine, it is new. It's virtually new. And she's rode just like a Rolls Royce coming down the bank at 75 mile an hour.
Everything we could have hoped for, the engine's performed faultlessly, really. We got up to 75 mile an hour on the West Coast Main Line, which is brilliant. It's kind of the culmination of 10 years of hard work by a lot of people.
I've not heard a Pacific sound like this was at the front end because she was absolutely just sharp and clear. So the valves are they're set perfectly.
There's lots of really lovely engines out there that run on this line, at speed, but Scotsman evokes memories in a way those don't. That means that what we've got on the front of us, blowing all the smoke past the window, is a memory machine.
If you could have a penny if everybody watched her and everybody took a photograph, you could afford to overhaul her once every 2 years.
Sir William McAlpine knows all about overhauls. He footed the bill for 2 of them during the 23 years he owned Scotsman. Sir William bought the engine from the previous owner, Alan Pegler, in 1973, rescuing it from San Francisco, where it had ground to a halt at the end of an ill-fated tour of the States. It was an unexpected chance to save Scotsman, having to make his mind up straight away or risk the engine never returning.
It was wham bang, if you want this locomotive, say yes tomorrow. I had the money, I had the opportunity, and there wasn't any time. It was an instant decision. But I thought, well, here's a true British icon, and not buying it for me, I'm buying it for Britain. And so I said yes. I never really felt I owned the engine. I'd be going along and I'm sitting in the fireman's seat and I'm wondering, what on earth am I doing here? I own this engine. I actually own it, but I don't feel I own it. I feel I've just got it in trust for the nation. She gave so much pleasure to so many people, and that was a wonderful feeling.
Not everyone has a full-sized railway in their back garden, but Sir William does. It's a love of railways that's coloured his life, something he believes he shares with the great British public.
Of course, we did invent them, and we hadn't had railways, we couldn't have an industrial revolution. Didn't have an industrial revolution, we never had an empire. So, we own lots of railways, and if you can rescue some of these things, it's a wonderful thing to do. Definitely look back with fondness. I love her. And it's wonderful to be able to enjoy her without having the responsibility of paying the bills. Even with the constraints of the modern world, I hope she can continue running for a long, long time.
A week to go to the inaugural run. Scotsman's mechanically sound, and she's being pampered and preened before tackling the busy main line between King's Cross and York.
We're in good shape. I mean, we've proved the engine now. You know, it's done 1,000 miles, got 1,000 miles under its belt, both on preserved railways and now on the main line too. So we know that the engine does perform. It can, you know, haul large trains over steep gradients. And now we're just looking forward to the run up from London.
They've brought in a team of craftsmen to make the engine look its very best. Scotsman will be painted in the livery she was in when she left British Rail service in 1963. It's a challenging job, done in a very traditional way.
Everything is brush painted that we do. There's no spray painting involved. It's all done by hand. It's all done just through hard graft. It is a huge amount of materials we use. 20 litres of undercoat, 30 litres of gloss, 20 litres of varnish, 85 litres of white spirit, thinners. Quite a lot of work in that, quite a lot of man hours and a lot of labour. Proud, very much. I think, you know, we've done a lot of high-profile jobs in our time, but this is the absolute icing on the cake. This is a pinnacle of a career. From this point, you can stand back, and as a family, I can say to my kids, we painted that. We have painted the world's most famous locomotive.
Great engines like this should always be done the traditional way. You get a greater sense of pride doing it by hand. To get it right and to get it looking pristine for when it goes on its inaugural journey, yeah. This is special. This is a highlight of somebody's career, I would think. Painting the Flying Scotsman. Not many people that have done that. It gives a great sense of job satisfaction. It's one of those things where not many people can see the fruits of the labour. There's still only a handful of signwriters that have ever done it, and I'm one.
Massive relief, massive relief. Yeah, there have been times when you think we'll never finish it. We'll never ever finish it. There's just been so many setbacks. But now we are where we are, and it's ready to go.
Battersea in London, on the eve of the inaugural run. Belmont British Pullman is one of the few mainline depots where Scotsmen can be fed and watered. It'll take on board 5 tons of coal and almost 5,000 gallons of water. The crew and engineers are exhausted after working all hours to fix a broken spring, which nearly scuppered the celebration. But they're here, ready, and just a little nervous.
Some of the lads back at the works, they spent years on this engine, and it's really fought them all the way. And then tomorrow to see it out there, for them seeing that, you know, it'd be a good feeling. It's good for us, good for everyone to see it out there doing what it's meant to do.
King's Cross. The inaugural run has become a global media event.
Lovely to see you.
With reporters and cameramen rubbing shoulders with passengers and the great and the good. It's been a long time since Scotsman graced the platforms here, but slowly she rolls in like she's never been away. And now the old girl's ready for her close-up. It's the start of an epic 200-mile journey, which will need 5 hours and 2 footplate crews to get the train to York.
Here we go.
There's hundreds here to see Flying Scotsman head home, and there'll be thousands more lining the route. In the passenger carriages, men with sore hands and old skills put their feet up and enjoy some well-earned first-class service. It's the end of a 10-year struggle.
Cinderella didn't want to go to the ball, but we were determined Cinderella was going, you know, whether she were kicking her legs or not. And here she is today. She's running like a sewing machine, you know, that is it. You know, she's sweet, she sounds sweet, everything's running at the right temperatures, it's perfect. It's been an uphill challenge, but we're finally there. The blood, the sweat, the tears, it is physical blood, sweat and tears. You know, you hurt yourself, you cut yourself, you bleed. You have your head in your hands at some point where you think, oh my God, we've got all this to do, and it's given the engine a new lease of life doing all that work.
Alan Pegler saved Scotsman from the breaker's yard in 1963. Today's run is a poignant journey for his daughter.
It is absolutely wonderful. I just hope that my dad is looking down. This is what he wanted, for people to go on enjoying the engine, and the fact that it's going afterwards to the museum is fantastic, because it'll be enjoyed now for generations to come, which is really what he wanted. He would be very, very happy.
Through Doncaster now, where Scotsman began life all those years ago. A survivor against all the odds.
It was originally built in this country, and it was rebuilt in this country to retain the Flying Scotsman forever and ever and ever.
York, journey's end and the warmest of Yorkshire welcomes.
Okay, happy home we are.
Thank you. Bit dusty, is that last little bit?
Now it's just a short hop to the National Railway Museum. Flying Scotsman is finally home.
Tiring, but we've made it, so we're very, very happy. We've sort of overcome the odds this week, and you know, got the engine ready, got it up here on the front of the train, so very relieved, but content and happy as well.